just yesterday, Steve Bannon, Bradley, on this video, Steve Bannon came out and said something very similar, although a little bit more dramatic, where Steve Bannon is basically saying, if you're part of this movement, you got to be prepared to give it all. Just watch this.
And our coalition is now going to include a wide swath of African-American men and Hispanic men. This is the game changer. I'll give you a lot of details about that, of things I learned in prison. Let me say something. If you're not prepared to be sent to a federal prison as a political prisoner, then you're not worthy to be in this movement and to step forward and try to save your country. You have to understand, they want to put you in prison, and they will put you in prison. If you can't accept that, then you don't know what they represent.
All right, well, there it is. I mean, we're talking about, like, so they're gearing up. If you're going to be part of this, be prepared to be ostracized. One more thing I wanted to touch on with Vote is that this guy wasn't just formally in the Office of Management and Budget. He was the director of the Republican National Committee's official platform committee. This is ahead of the nominating convention. I mean, is there any other, like, what other position could there be short of being the candidate that would have more say about the agenda going forward? And, you know, we know from Donald Trump, at least in his various criminal and civil trials, he's not a hands-on guy. He likes to farm it out, apparently, to his now, I think, imprisoned CFO. But he was the head of the platform committee, as well as obviously one of the architects of Project 2025. What else should we know? I mean, this is important stuff, I think, to sort of educate people on how they're going to vote. I suspect, though, a lot of that's baked into the cake. People who are going to vote on this type of information probably have already decided but this is also really important to understand that in the event that Trump wins, people have to move quickly. Like what, Molly, like I'm sure you and Andy have talked about, like what's going on to sort of push back against this agenda if they're in a position to actually implement it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a matter of how quickly can they move. Trump is a little bit mercurial. It's a lot's going to come down to, do these people remain in his favor? But if they do, I think their plan is to move very, very quickly. These are the plans people. Trump goes on the campaign trail and talks about wanting to use the military to put down protests, and that he's okay with that. This is the group of people who are assembling the lawyers who are going to work for the federal government, rationalizing why that's not against the law, why that's okay. So I think, what you're seeing here is the guts of a plan to move very, very quickly to sort of shock people with how quickly the federal government makes a hard right turn.
Andy, talk about that for a moment too. I think it was your reporting that said that he is creating a shadow OLC. Tell people what the OLC is and what the implications of a shadow OLC means.
Yeah, the OLC is the sort of in-house legal shop for the executive branch, and I think for your audience out there, they may remember one of the more notorious chapters in the OLC's history. This was the office that sort of produced the legal memos justifying what the Bush administration, the second Bush administration, called enhanced interrogation techniques, aka torture. That was the office that infamously turned out these legal justifications to basically allow the government, the military intelligence agencies to engage in torture during the Iraq War. But what Russ Vought is talking about when he says a shadow OLC, and he also talks about a shadow OMB, Office of Management and Budget, which we talked about earlier, is having not only the executive orders in place, not only the regulations in place meaning drafted, which Vought says that he and his people have done, but also having these draft legal justifications for something like using the Insurrection Act to deploy the military to a major American city in response to massive protests along the lines of what we saw in 2020. So that is another step further, is he's got these legal justifications, according to Vote, already teed up in his shadow OLC. And look, if you're a voter out there who's still making up their mind, I hope you'll watch this, because it's and read our story, because it's a clear sort of vision into what Trump 2.0 would be, but also for lawyers who care about these things, for government workers who care about these things. You're seeing the plan laid out, and you're seeing what a key Trump ally and likely, Trump senior official wants to do, because he's saying it very clearly. And so hopefully people can take this information and it arms them and it informs them in some way going forward.
I just want to reiterate, during the first Trump administration, there was a 5-4 conservative Supreme Court. It wasn't until literally weeks before the election that we had a 6-3 court. That court shut down a lot of stuff that the Trump administration tried to do, in part, in a large part, just because the Trump administration didn't know how to do it. And so what it seems to me that Vote is talking about is taking the enormous amount of right-wing funding there is and literally creating these shadow agencies, because they can't necessarily get them in government in time, producing, it's almost like one of those old corporate EPK packets where, they do the industrial and they hand it to the news and the news just runs it like, Rightline has got a new product that is really, stirring things up locally, that type of thing. It feels like that. Like they're doing the work of the OLC, giving it to the OLC and just saying, put your imprimatur on this. And all they need is one person there to basically say, yeah, this is what it is. I mean, this is really terrifying stuff. Yeah,
it is. And, that's our specialty at ProPublica, clearly. But, we would rather people know this than not know this. And, forewarned is forearmed, or whatever the saying is. And again, I think whatever whatever job you're in, cause you care about, wherever you live, a second Trump administration, if it comes to that, is not going to be the chaos disaster that the first one was, where they were throwing out sloppy orders and courts were overturning them, and it was chaos from one day to the next, 1 hour to the next. Repeatedly in our reporting this year, this story about Russ Vote, our Project 2025 stuff earlier this year, the same theme gets repeated, which is his allies have learned from the first term. They have learned from their mistakes, seen where their policies got gummed up, overturned, delayed, whatever, and are planning now with those lessons in mind. And so, yes, as Molly said, things will move faster, a lot faster than they did before. And whatever side of this you're on, you should know that if Trump wins, things are going to, likely move quite a bit faster than they did before.
Steve Bannon got out of jail. We played that clip earlier of him saying, you have to be prepared to go to jail to be a part of this movement. Much easier to say after you've gone to jail. Now it becomes a requirement.
What about get shot by a guy in the Capitol? Do you have to be prepared to do that? Because Ashley Babbitt, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. That's also a movement commitment.
Be honest about the stakes, Steve.
Yep. I don't know who Robbie Roadsteamer is on Twitter, but I appreciate his work. Here he is greeting Steve Bannon after he gets out of prison.
Steve, Robbie Roadsteamer here. I'm wondering, when's the next insurrection, and can we storm the Burger King after this? Can we do that? I mean, doesn't he look great now? We were in Danbury the first month together. He looks great. You don't remember me? We were lifting weights and stuff in the weight room. When's the next insurrection? How are we going to do this and stuff, man? You know what? If I'm leaving, I'm having a good time. He looks like
the censors are
with
coming.
AIDS right now. Robbie Roadsteamer, no political violence, people. people. This place smells like mothballs.
Why are they
Wow,
censoring Robbie
where's the
Road?
elevator? I'm not even going to get like hors d'oeuvres or something. Not for sure.
I just think there should be more support for free speech from Bannon's security.
Hopeful One says that's a radio legend from WBCN. Is that true? Is that true? I don't recognize that guy, but I used to listen to BCN.
He had one other video recently where he did a similar thing at like a Hulk Hogan meet and greet that he kind of went up to him.
Let's play that.
Let me see if I can find it. 1 second.
That's pretty amazing. No, I like that guy. I didn't realize he's a Boston legend. He's very funny. I would recommend his video, says Rob from Denim. I don't remember that dude. That was well done, though. You were lifting weights for that first month in Danbury. There's a white-collar prison in Danbury, Connecticut that he's referring to.
This is the Hulk Hogan.
Oh, this is where he goes to Hulk Hogan. Oh, good for this guy.
Oh, yeah. Look at the shirt, the MAGA powers. We're going to destroy the woke. What are they going to do when we drop the big boot on trans and we drop the big boot on everything? We're going to drop the big boot on Social Security. Does that work for you, brother? Trump is a real felon. Then he went to Epstein Island. Trump, no physical, no political violence. No political violence. No political violence, though.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know what the best part about that, though, is? Like, when Hulk Hogan sees basically a mirror version of himself.
Exactly, yeah.
He's like, this guy's freaking me out. Brother, you're freaking me out. Well, brother, I'm here to see you. Well, brother, you're freaking me out. I don't like. I'm putting on an act. You could be real.
I had a shower sort of thought the other day where we would sort of book Hulk Hogan under false pretenses and have him record something, but every time he finished it, say, "Hey, can you do that again, but with say the word brother a few more times?"
Hulk Hogan was on stage at Madison Square Garden. Apparently, he was having like a shirt. He couldn't get his shirt. He couldn't rip his shirt, and he had to
Like losing your fastball.
Keep doing it like this. God damn it! I forgot to put the breakaway shirt on.
Should have started this way.
Damn it! God damn it! I don't feel comfortable with you here. Well, I don't feel comfortable with you here.
We're gonna drop the big
Come on,
boot
brother.
trans and Social Security.
That guy's a legend.
That's like what's that? Where you use your opponent's force against them? The it's like Tai Chi or something.
Oh, it's a good.
Like you redirect their force right back at them.
Hapkido or
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu, I think. JR in Philly says, Sam and I were WAAF listeners, I guess. That's true. I listened to the WAF Giraffe. I mean, when I was in Boston, I listened to BCN too. But really, actually, I listened to Brown's radio station. I went up on my roof and attached like a coat hanger so I could hear the Brown radio station because they were playing newer music. Cole from Little Rock. Sam's Hulk Hogan is a pretty good Vince McMahon. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.